Okay, good morning, everyone. I know there are a couple of people missing, a few badges still on, but we have to stick to time. So, welcome everyone to this RIB2 status seminar. My name is Karen Gunnar. I'm the coordinator of RIB2, and many thanks to Mate and to NCBA who organized this meeting, and to Merlin, of course, who will be chairing and who will just be giving you some information right now, but I hope we'll all have an interesting, fruitful seminar. Many thanks for coming.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Welcome, everybody. I've got a few sort of housekeeping things for you. So my name is Merlin Goldman. I work for the UK's Innovation Agency. So in terms of toilets, there are some to the left of the cloakroom, and there's also some to the right behind this wall. There's no scheduled fire alarm today, so if there's a fire alarm, just follow the green signs and make your way out to the front of the building. In terms of the schedule for the day, there should be an agenda on the seats. And when we come through to the presentations, I'll say a little bit more about how we're going to structure those. But in terms of other information for you, there are some topics forms on your sheets which will help us to design the next calls. So if you have a chance to fill those out through the day, and either if you can give them to one of us or place them on the table at the front, we'll collect those at the end. But to start the day off today, we've got the launch in terms of sort of public dissemination of the 5th call. And I'm very pleased to say Marion here is going to talk through the call and the topics in the call. Thank you.
Okay, so good morning also from my side. My name is Marion Karasch. I'm from the German Project Management Agency, and we work for the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research. And in this ARANET, I'm responsible for implementing the joint calls. And maybe you've already seen it. Currently, our 5th joint call is open. And it's actually the 2nd joint call that we do in cooperation with another ARANET, which is Eurotrans Bio, which is basically funding SMEs in the field of biotech. So I would just give you some brief information about this 5th call for proposals. In this call, we've brought together 17 different funding organizations from 13 different countries. The total call budget of the 5th call is about 26 million euros. And we expect applications from transnational consortia with a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 8 partners. And these partners have to come from at least 3 different participating countries or regions. So in our 5th call, the participation of an industrial partner is mandatory. And in addition to this mandatory participation itself, some countries have specific regulations. For example, Austria can only fund industrial partners. And for details regarding this, I would like to refer to our call text and the national regulations. You can look up everything there. It is also possible to include partners from countries that do not participate in the call, but these partners, of course, have to ensure their own money, so they cannot get any funding from the ARANET. And last but not least, we would like to have transnational consortia that are balanced. So we set a limit and said, okay, not more than 70% of the total project budget should go to one country, but even 60 or 70% is not really balanced. So if you put together a new consortium, please have a look at the balance and try to make a balanced consortium. So these are the countries or regions that participate in our 5th call, and you also see the budgets that are available for the different countries. This information is also given in the call text, so you can look it up there. If you go through the list, I'm not going through the list right now, you can see some, let's say, kind of obvious bottlenecks like France having only 200,000 euros. So just for your information, how much money is available for which country. Okay, so what kind of projects do we expect in our 5th call? We have structured the topics a bit different from the last years. So the first part focuses on processes. So of course we want to fund conversion projects, conversion of biomass or bioproducts into new products. We fund proposals with novel systems in a sense that we include enzymes as well as whole microorganisms or cell-free systems. We expect projects that generate new compounds. We also include projects that deal with, let's say, systems biology approaches, modeling approaches, and of course, the whole classical field of process development like downstream scale-up and so on. What kind of products do we expect? We expect products like new functional materials, but also platform chemicals, monomers, polymers, biomaterials, and then also projects that finally end up with pharmaceuticals, food or feed ingredients. And here I would also like to mention that there are certain restrictions. So some countries and some funding organizations do not fund the topic food, feed, pharmaceuticals. So for details, you would also have to look into the call text. And then the last point is a bit different than the others. It's a kind of novel way to design a project. So the idea was to first have a certain function and then kind of design a project to get this certain function by new ways. So how can you apply? As the years before, we've got a two-stage procedure. The deadline for pre-proposal submission is the 31st of March. Pre-proposals are pretty short, so we expect about 2 pages of project description, 1 page of exploitation, a short financial plan, and of course the consortium, the information about the partners. So that's not too much. And the success rate on this level is about 40 to 50%. So approximately half of the pre-proposals are then invited to submit a more detailed full proposal, and the full proposal deadline is the end of June. And we've organized our proposal submission via an online system. You see the website here, but you can also just Google submission RIB and you will find it. Or you can also go to our regular website, era-ib.net, and there's also the link to the submission system. Okay, last but not least, what are the criteria that will be used to evaluate the proposals? Of course, the proposals have to fit in our frame of topics. And then the most important criteria are scientific quality as well as economic potential. You have to show a clear added value of the cooperation, and we will have a look at the feasibility with regard to your financial plan and your work plan. So basically that's it about our 5th call. If you have any questions, I'm here the whole day. You can ask me, and otherwise, thanks for listening.
Is there any questions now for Marion? Oh.
You mentioned that some countries will not finance pharmaceuticals and food. But what happens if there's a company who wants to participate? Will this count as a company, the only company required in the consortium?
Yes, if this company cannot be funded, but it is a real project partner, so it contributes with a known budget, it would be considered a partner.
Is there any limitation of the companies that can join? So do you require SMEs or is that open?
It's open also to large companies, so no restriction. Some countries might have budgetary restrictions.
Okay.
And just to make sure, you should always stay in contact with the national contact persons. They are also mentioned in the call text.
Thank you.
So, if no more questions, I think we proceed.
Okay, great. Thanks, Marion. Okay, that's great. So now we're going to move on to the presentations, and all these projects from the second call, and these projects ran for 3 years and are just coming to the end and in the process of submitting their final reports. In terms of the format for the talks, we've allowed half an hour for each of the talks, and we expect most of the presenters to speak for 20-25 minutes, so there's time for questions at the end. we're going to keep you to time, so because obviously we have got quite a late lunch, so if we can save a few minutes here and there, we'll try to do that. So please leave some time for questions. If you are running a little bit over, I may pull you off the stage. Please remember also that this is a public forum, so any of those projects presenting, please remember that if they can not present anything that's confidential, as this is obviously being streamed live as well, so everyone in the world will be able to find out your secrets. Okay, so I think we can move on to the first talk, which is novel production strategies for biosurfactants, or BioSurf. So as I pass you the microphone, I will then get your presentation. Okay. Do you want to try with the microphone?
I will try. Okay. So, good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for organizing this meeting here, presenting the data from BioSurf. BioSurf is a project that focuses on novel production strategy for biosurfactants. And as you know, surfactants form an integral part of our everyday life with a wide application of different, with a wide range of different applications, from food to fuel additives. We aimed in this project to look at a replacement of biosurfactants by biosurfactants that are generated from renewable resources. To do that, we gathered a consortium of 7 partners, 3 from Germany, 3 from Belgium, and 1 from France. They are all listed here. I won't go too much into the naming here. You know most of them. Maybe the companies. We have Ecoware, which is a known producer of detergents. We have Selecta, an enzyme company. And we have Tormans, an engineering company that is developing fermentation processes and other reactions. And we have RTOs like the KIT and Fraunhofer and Vito and University LSPP in Toulouse. These different partners had in total 7 work packages. I will give you a brief overview of the results of each of these work packages and pick a few of the major results we gathered there. I will not present any IP-relevant data, so sometimes the details are missing. Okay, for work package 2, the title here is Identification and Preparation of New Surfactants. We have 3 main topics: the development of already known unexplored biosurfactants and their modification to create new structures from known biosurfactants, identification of completely novel biosurfactants by screening of strain collections, the characterization of microorganisms, and their produced biosurfactants from this second topic. To do that, we developed a set of screening assays that are microtiter placed usually on a 96-well format. Here you see one of the results that come from this work package. That was a screening for new surfactant producers. Here screening systems are established that led to the isolation and screening of close to 400 individual microorganisms that were isolated, for example, from peat bog soil, intestines of seawater animals, Mediterranean sponges, and so on. And here we could identify a series of not yet described non-pathogenic biosurfactant producers like Granella, Citrobacter, Serratia, Pseudomonas, or Psychrobacter species. Several of these were put into fermentation to see if we can gain biosurfactants in larger amounts. And for some of them, like the Zucca species, we found trehalose lipids like these, which we actually could identify and characterize, including a structural elucidation with MALDI, MS, and NMR. But there are also still other strains which produce unknown surfactants where we only know the mass and have no structure so far. Okay, the modification of already known surfactants was also a major topic here. Here we focus on two groups, the cellulose lipids and monosyl erythrolipids. There's a third group, the sophorose which I cannot present due to patent restrictions. And here the idea is to use these already known compounds which have a really big structural variety to see if different variants have different surfactant properties. What you see here is one of the more complicated data sheets that I present. Here we compared 7 different strains from Pseudocyma species, which give you different amounts of MELs, MEL A, B, C, D, and X. These nomenclature is basically defined by the acetylation and different fatty acid chains that you have in these structures. The interesting part is that they are actually different in polarity. So you have the more unpolar ones on this TLC plate on the top and the more hydrophilic ones on the bottom. And you see that we have always a mixture of these structures in a fermentation broth. And the interesting part is that we can actually separate them in a more hydrophobic and in a more hydrophilic fraction, and by that get also surfactants or emulgators that are differently soluble in water and thereby have different application ranges. For MEL-X, which is a new structure, you also see here this adjusted structure by Malditov, which is basically a monoacetylated MEL. Okay, in work package 3 we had 2 main topics. One was the enzymatic modification of natural biosurfactants to enhance their performance, and synthesis of completely new types by enzymatic means. To do that, we of course had also to screen for enzymes. Selecta is one of the companies who is actually screening for enzymes, and they have metagenomic libraries that they screen using a cluster screening type of screens, but also genomic libraries from individual microorganisms that they use to identify new enzymes, build the respective expression libraries, and look for activity-based screens. They also supplied the consortium with lipases that they already had discovered previously. And one of the topics here was to look for transglycosidases, screening for transglycosidases that are able to cleave cellulose or lactoses. And to do that, they used para-nitrophenyl derivatives of these compounds, did a metagenomic screen, altogether 300,000 clones, and found 4 new glycosidases that are able to hydrolase cellulose and lactose derivatives. The idea is to use these also for synthesis purposes. I will show you one enzyme later where this works, and the enzymes here are also available now.